Well, good evening, everyone. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to our regular meeting of the Irving City Council for August 1st, 2024. It's a pleasure to have each and every one of you with us this evening. Organizational announcements. Shanae, do we have anyone signed up to give an announcement?
No, sir.
Thank you. Then if you would please stand. This evening, the invocation will be given by Reverend Shane Webb of the Woodhaven Presbyterian Church in Irving.
All right. Mr. Mayor, thank you very much. Councilmen and women and employees of the city, I appreciate what you do. As citizens of Irving, we live in an awesome city, so I hope you appreciate the diversity that we have here in this city. When I pray, I like to include everyone because I believe in a God of all people. So I want you to pray in a way that is comfortable for you. If you are a person that is not a person of faith, I ask that you hold a silent time of meditation. Let's pray. Holy One, we thank you for this night, for this great city that we are a part of. Help us to make wise decisions, to be able to agree and disagree respectfully. Allow us to have your peace. Lord, we need peace in this city. We need peace in the Middle East. We need peace in our world, and we ask for your help in those endeavors. Lord, may all that we say and do tonight help bring you glory, and may we work to improve each and every one's life. And we ask this in your loving name, and all God's people said,
Amen.
Amen.
Thank you, Reverend Webb. If you'd please remain standing, Councilman Taylor will lead us in the pledges.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Thank you, Kyle. Okay. Next item on our agenda is the Citizens Forum. Shanae, do we have residents that would like to speak to us this evening?
Yes, sir, we do, Mayor. And before I read the script, I'm going to say I will call you in the order in which you signed up, not in the order in which you want to go. That's what I always do, and I'm going to stick with my consistent pattern. So the citizens provide the opportunity to our citizens to address the council on items that are not listed on the regular agenda. The council will listen, but they will not respond as they are restricted from deliberation by the Texas Open Meeting Act. While the mayor and council may not respond, you are welcome to contact them directly. Their phone numbers and emails are listed on the website, and a meeting can be requested. If your comments require a response, the follow-up will be handled by the communications team. Each speaker will be limited to 3 minutes, and I will let you know when 1 minute is left. Please state your name and address prior to your comments. A professional presentation is requested. Any handouts you wish to provide to the council members should be given to the police officers on either side of the chamber. Please do not approach the dais. The first speaker is Reverend Moses Carrasquillo, followed by Chris Arrington.
Good afternoon, City Council. My name is Reverend Moises Carrasquillo. I would like to wait till the person that is here could talk to see what is the problem for my church, and then after that, then I want to talk, because honestly, I don't know what is the problem.
You're first.
Oh, well, it's...
Take your 3 minutes.
Okay, well, as I'm saying, my name is Reverend Moises Carrasquillo. I'm the pastor of Santa Maria de Guadalupe Lutheran Church at South MacArthur. It's a congregation that we have been at this location for over 15 years and have had a positive relationship with our neighbors. All the events that we host are related to our expression of our faith and in support of our ministry. And we have addressed all the issues that in the past 3 years, code enforcement, as well as the police, as well as the retired councilman on our field, Henley, have told us to do. And well, my question is, what else do we need to do? Because honestly, we need a solution for the situation that usually we have. So that's why I request from the city council just to let me know to my church, that also here is some of the members, just to find a solution to whatever problem would be.
Reverend, thank you so much for coming down. Isaac, in the back, Reverend, we have Isaac Vasquez. If you would you please get with Isaac, and we'll make sure we get a little bit more detailed information, and we'll ensure that we follow up with you, and Isaac can ensure that we get that followed up with you on.
Okay.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Chris Arrington, followed by Martin Trejo.
Mayor Sofer, City Council, City Manager Hillman, I appreciate what you guys do. Shanae, thank you for making me second so that I could gather my thoughts.
You're welcome.
The reason I'm here is to thank you. I'm not going to come in and moan and complain and cry. I've been doing that for 3.5 years, and with your assistance now, as of a month or so ago, the 22-car Turo rental company that is based next door to me has been notified that they can't do that any longer. I just wanted to come and say thank you so much for passing that, for pushing that forward, taking care of Cox Drive. It's a residential street. It's a neighborhood. We don't need to have the 22 cars and all of the extras that go along with that. So thank you very much. Also wanted to call out some of our employees that have really been fantastic in helping us out. The director, Shane Diller, he has been fantastic. I don't know if he is here. Thank you. He has been fantastic to come through. And Officer Estefanos, he is fantastic too. Daily they're checking in with us or having their staff there. So they're doing a great job for you, a great job for the citizens, and also looking at what the neighborhood really needs to have done. I really appreciate that. Most of all, though, I want to thank Councilman Ward. Oscar Ward has been there from the beginning when he was here. That's who I went to. That's who I asked about 3.5+ years ago. What do we need to do here and how do we do it? And he lined it out how we follow the pattern that needs to be followed, as opposed to me screaming and yelling and calling and twisting elbows and stuff. So Oscar, we really appreciate you. And finally, I want to recognize the Cox Drive crowd that is here that has stood by my side as I've complained and talked to Shane and talked to Officer Estefanos and Councilman Ward. They've done a great job in being there for us and realizing what was happening, as well as calling out on a daily basis when there was a violation. So most of all, as we end things, it's not stopped.
1 minute
He was
left.
in violation today. He's still speeding up and down the street to be able to deliver cars. He's still working on them in his home, and I'm hoping this will stop soon. And now it's rolling over to police and others that will handle that. But thank you very much, and I appreciate your support.
Martin Trejo, followed by Ernesta Perez.
Good afternoon, dear City Council, Irving, Mayor, City Manager.
Please state your name and address.
My name is Martin Trejo. I represent the Iglesia Santa Maria Guadalupe. I'm a president of the council of the church. My pastor talked first. There is a complaint that came to the police, it came to the code enforcement, and we've been trying to solve this issue of noise and our events alone, that our members, the youth for quinceañeras, weddings, and all of that. That's the only way the church can survive and can pay the mortgage. Because for offers, we don't do anything. And after the 2020, after the COVID, it's hard. Thanks God the church it didn't close. So that's our main resource. And we don't rent. People from the members come and offer and give it amount to use our event salon. So I've been complaining. I never had a time to talk to see this gentleman that had a complaint, but it's something that we as a church, we feel that, we don't know what to do. The police have been called, we've been following what the police see, Chief Bayer been with us, we follow what he says. Even we made a loan, extra loan to the church to try to solve this situation. Code enforcement come up, the retired constable number 4 come up. Luis Canosa, the new constable, come up. We show them all the effort we had done to come to the end. And we looked onto the end. So it come today that we didn't know that they will come and do complaint against the church. So the same neighbors told us they were knocking house and asking to come to do to try to support them for the complaint. So that's what part of the church is here to hear and see what we can do. We love the neighbors. Even all neighbors alone decide where they live. They have a door that can access our property. The kids can go and play in our playground. So, we don't know what to do. So we're here
1 minute
to hear
left.
you and find a solution because we as a church, we don't know what to do. Thank you so much for listening to me.
Thank you. And the last speaker is Ernesta Perez.
Good afternoon, Mayor Rick Stoffer and City Council members. My name is Ernesta Perez. I live on 1228 Lakeshore Drive, Irving, Texas, 75060. I'm here for the same issue as the previous time I spoke before the City Council, which is the excessive vibration of the music on the Santa Maria Church at 2601 South MacArthur Boulevard. I know that you are making changes to the ordinance regarding the sound and vibration, but before a final decision is made, I would like to emphasize certain key points. If the salon used this type of events is not closed, the music and vibration will never stop. You hear the pastor and the other, they do all they can, but sometimes this particular kind of salons events are too close to neighborhoods that they can hide the vibration no matter what you do. The vibration is there. So at my home, the vibration is everywhere. You cannot hide from that vibration. I had police officers before at my home, and I asked them, do you can sleep with this vibration? They say, no, definitely no. You can't. They accept what the problem is. I'm not against the church. I'm against the place, the vibration. I want you to understand this. I'm not against the church. It's the vibration, including they can have this salon and use for any other kind of events that not include loud music and vibration. They have this argument that that's the only resource they have to keep their church. I understand that. But what about my peace and tranquility of my family and other families that are suffering for this situation? So please, before this is, or there is a change, consider this,
1 minute
these
left.
points. So I'm not asking for something crazy. I'm asking every individual on amendment says we have the right to have peace, security in our own homes. That's my home. If I don't have this peace at my home, where else? So please, it's on your hands, I know, to make a good decision. This is, they can make changes on that kind of events, but I can make changes on my home. I can move my home to another place. My home is there, and it's my home. And we have this peace before they start with this, that I am asking you, please, give me my peace and tranquility that I had before, that we had before. It's not something bad that we're asking. It's something just normal to have a sleep. We can't sleep until sometimes
3 minutes.
2 a.m. in the morning and wait there, sitting there
3
to
minutes.
wait. See,
Ms. Perez, thank you again for coming down. You are correct, we are working on a noise ordinance, but I also understand your thoughts and concerns relative to the events themselves. Our code enforcement director, Shane, has been working with the church. For those that are here relative to the concerns that have been expressed by several of the past speakers, Shane, at the end of our public comment period, Shane will be stepping back into the back area. And for those that would like to sit down and talk with him, he'll be happy to do so relative to this situation. So again, Shane, could you please raise your hand so everybody knows who you are? And again, after public comment, there might be others that might want to speak on this. He'll be in the back to be able to talk with you and walk through that. Thank you.
thank you.
Is that the last speaker?
Yes.
That was the last speaker. So Shane, if you'd be so kind as to, Shane, that was the last speaker. So if you'd be so kind as to step back. Thank you. And again, if anybody would like to talk with Shane, he'll be in the back and he'll be happy to talk with you.
Okay, that brings us to our consent agenda, which is items 2 through 24. Is there any of those items that the council would like to pull? Seeing
Mayor?
none, I'd entertain a motion.
Actually, I wanted to ask about
Sure.
The Arts Board bylaws. Do we need to pull that since it's a different copy than what we got in our packet, or can we just pass it as is?
We can, did you see the one?
Yeah, I
wondering
mean,
if-
this is correct.
If that's correct, then that's what's in minute track, and you may vote on it. Yeah,
And it
you can
doesn't
leave
have to be
Yeah,
pulled?
it does not need to be pulled.
Perfect. Then I would like to make a motion for approval.
All right. We have a motion and a second. Would you please vote? And it passes unanimously. Item number 25 and item number 26, Councilman Taylor is going to be stepping down. He's filed an affidavit on these two items. Item number 25 is a resolution approving the submission of the fiscal year 2024-2025 action plan to the United States Department of Housing and Urban Development for the use of federal funds, community development block grants, home investment partnership grants, and emergency solution grants. Any discussion or motions? Al?
I'd like to make a motion, Mayor, for item 25, resolution approving the submission of the fiscal year 2024 to 2025 action plan to the United States Department of Housing and Urban Development for the use of federal funds, community development, block grant, home investment partnership grants, et cetera.
Have a second? Have a motion and a second. Would you please vote? And it passes unanimously. Item number 26 is a resolution approving the fiscal year 2024-2025 Community Development Block Grant Public Service allocations to area nonprofits organizations in the amount of $325,812. Discussion? Motion? Move for approval. We have a motion and a second. Would you please vote? And it passes unanimously. Councilman Taylor can join us back on the dais. Item number 27 is a public hearing and designate approximately 5.731 acres located at 2203 West Royal Lane as a tax abatement reinvestment zone number 61. Shanae, do we have anyone speaking in on this item this evening?
No, sir.
We had a great discussion on this afternoon. I'd entertain a motion or discussion. We have a motion and a second. Would you please vote? And it passes unanimously. Item number 28 is approving a tax abatement agreement between the City of Irving, Fox Television Station, LLC, NW Communications of Texas, Inc., DBA KDFW, Fox Station Sales, Inc., New Fox Services, LLC, and Fox Corp Holdings, LLC, in the amount depending upon annual qualifications. Al?
Mayor, I have a motion for approval on item 28, resolution.
Second.
Approving the tax abatement agreement between the City of Irving, Fox Television Stations, LLC, Northwest Communications of Texas, Inc., Fox Stations Sales, Inc., New Fox Services, LLC, and the Fox Corp Holding, LLC.
Have a motion and a second. Would you please vote? And it passes unanimously. That brings us to our zoning cases, which are items 29 through 37. At this time, I would ask that our City Secretary, Sinead Jennings, swear in those who wish to speak this evening. If you'd please stand.
Please stand if you wish to speak on a zoning case and raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that all statements which you will make tonight to the City Council of the City of Irving will be the truth and nothing but the truth? I do. Thank you. You may be seated.
Our first zoning case is number 24-06-5306, considering a request for a temporary use permit to allow operations of a circus in excess of the maximum 30 days within the calendar year at 3602 West Airport Freeway. Sinead, do we have anyone signed up to speak on this?
The applicant, Mayor, Ms. Rum, Jesse Medrano. Please approach, say your name and address for the minutes.
Good afternoon, members of the council. My name is Mizrain Medrano. I'm with the Delman Circus. We're trying to bring the circus into the Irving Mall. As we understand, there is 30 days allotted to the mall to have outside events. And as per the email that I got from Ms. Christine Hadley, from August 30th to September the 3rd of 2023, the mall used 5 days. From September 9th through February 25th, 2024, the mall used 17 days. And from June 5th through June 9th, 2024, the mall used 5 days. And at the time of this email, Ms. Hadley mentioned that currently those were 27 days already used up, and that there were only 3 days left to be used. She additionally gave me the next available days, which would be 5 days available on August 30th and 17 days on February 9th of 2025. We would like to ask the honorable council members permission to bring the circus from October 11th through October 28th, which is, and no shows on Wednesdays, which is only 16 days, to have the circus additionally to the 30 days that the mall already has used.
Okay. Are there any questions of the applicant? I'd entertain a motion.
I have a motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Would you please vote? And it passes 7-1.
Thank you so much.
Item number 30 is CP 230016, considering a comprehensive plan amendment change the future land use category from local commercial and traditional neighborhood to compact neighborhood on approximately 1.31 acres located at 1221 and 1225 Center Road. The applicant has requested that this be withdrawn. Could I have a motion to that effect?
I will move that we accept the applicant's request to withdraw the case.
We have a motion and a second. Would you please vote? And it passes 8-0 unanimously. Item number 31 is ZC 230047 and MF 230005, considering a zoning change from R6 single-family residential 6 to R3.5, two-family residence 3.5 to SP1 R25, detailed site plan, four-family residence with variance section 2, 14, and 3 and 13 of the Unified Development Code, including but not limited to maximum side yard setbacks, minimum rear yard setbacks, and minimum landscaping requirements on 1.31 acres located at 1221 and 1225 Center Road. The applicant has also asked for this one to be withdrawn. I'd entertain a motion.
I'll move that we accept the applicant's request to withdraw the case.
We have a motion and a second. Would you please vote? And it passes unanimously. Item number 32 is considering a comprehensive plan amendment changing the future land use category from business office to community village, 900 Byron Nelson Way, also known as 701 Mills Lane. This was postponed from the 27th, 2024 meeting. Sinead, do we have the applicant with us this evening?
I don't know. Is the applicant here? Please approach. State your name and address. Are you Faisal Saeed?
No.
No? Here.
Yep.
I got a lot of people signed up to speak on this one. So.
Great. Let me know when we're ready. First of all, thank you, City Council. Thank you, Mayor, Council members. Thank you for the time and consideration for what we think is going to be an absolute gift for the City of Irving. And I'm happy to click through this. How do I?
State your name and address.
Oh, sorry. Harry Lake. I live at 600 Travis Court, and I work at 500 East John Carpenter. How do I control the presentation?
Keyboard.
Drawer. Perfect. Okay, great. Thank you. All right. Here we go. First of all, a little background on us. This is more than just a project for us. This is our home. My wife's over here. We just celebrated 25 years of marriage. We live in Cottonwood Valley. Both my boys go to schools here in Irving. And this is not, again, a project like we do across the country. This is really our home, and we feel called to it. Our mission at Coal Partners, which we're a real estate investment firm and development firm based right here in Irving and Las Colinas, is to work on projects we feel called to and do community building. And that's exactly what we're doing and we propose to do here. Like I said, we live here, we work here. We actually brought some significant corporate relocations into our city, bringing high-paying jobs, and turned an otherwise building that no one really paid attention to something really special. And we're excited and love to showcase it. We actually use our conference room for a lot of neighborhood meetings, and we want to pour into the community. We play here, so work, live, play. Longtime member at what's now the Nelson Club, very active in the membership there, and obviously this is tied in, coupled really tightly with what we're proposing to do off the parking lot. Beyond that, I mean, my teeth gets cleaned here. This is 200 feet away from our project. My eyes get taken care of here. This is another 200 feet away from our project. We have 3 restaurants that I think are in presence, Via Real, Spirit Grill, and Midori, all of which we eat at, all right here, all of which have expressed support for our project. We shop here. But beyond that, we want to breathe additional life into the legacy of not just our project, but the 400 acres that makes up a jewel of our community, which is the former Four Seasons, now Ritz-Carlton. And we're working closely with them. The investors in the project has invested significant capital to breathing life into a huge economic engine to our community. Is from Hawaii, and I helped introduce them into the project. and help them transition in. They've been a great partner. I think you've seen them as a great partner, and they've been an absolute great host for a lot of our guests that come and visit our community every day. And this is an important component to what they're trying to do for our community, and we're happy to be a partner with them. Our goal is to basically breathe life into an uncompromising luxury resort living lifestyle that, you know, some people say, hey, is Irving ready for this? Is Irving ready to compete with Uptown Dallas, with what's going on in Frisco? Can we sustain a luxury high-rise living lifestyle? And I say yes. I say we can convert what is now a surface parking lot into something truly special that's one of a kind, unlike anything, not only in our region, but in our country, where we can have a rich residential community in an urban setting, close to DFW Airport and Love Field, that can be attached to 36 holes of golf. And we're really excited about that. I won't explain the location, but you know that we're in a special location, not only in Irving, but in the Metroplex. You know, we're in a few communities that has 3 country clubs, 4 golf courses, and we want to celebrate that. And this project uniquely touches on all of that. What's interesting is that while the resort has a MacArthur address, a lot of times we like to explain to people that we actually have most people coming from Dallas, in the south entry of the DFW airport, actually come up O'Connor. And so the intersection that we're prepared to invest a lot of capital in and take care of is really the front door to the resort, where right now it's being viewed more as a back door, right? It's on the back side of a loading dock of Tom Thumb. It's on the back side of the hotel. It's a surface parking lot. And in this situation, what we want to do, instead of demolishing Paradise to build parking lots, we want to do the exact opposite. We want to demolish a parking lot to build Paradise, and we want to deliver that for the city of Irving. Again, the project is right here. Again, it's 6 acres, but we're at the heart of a 400-acre campus, and we believe this project brings back unity into a project that's actually been decoupled. As you know, the hotel is owned by a different owner, the club is now owned by a different owner, but this project can really bring unity across both of those property lines. This is obviously this is the site we're talking about, and we're working closely with the LCA to help rethink the way they think about the 2 lots that they own adjacent to this parcel, which is the open lot basically to the left of the screen there on the backside, Tom Thumb, about 3 acres. And they also own another acre across the street of Leland, which is another acre, all of which can be activated, we believe. We work closely with them to just completely beautify that intersection of Leland and Northgate, as well as Byron Nelson Way. So while, yes, we're focused on investing significant capital and building something completely beautiful on the 6 acres, it has a much larger impact for the surrounding community. This is the site plan that we are proposing and asking approvals to sort of have the zoning for. What we're doing here is we're turning what is now, again, completely covered concrete, surface parking lot, and putting something really special there. In order to accommodate the existing parking, which, by the way, motivated by the hotel owners, we said, hey, how do we take and make it a little bit more presentable as the employees park on what's now a surface parking lot and cross Byron Nelson Way. In order to do that, we need to have placemaking on both sides of the street, not just on one side of the street. And so in order to do that, we're building the project, but we're also preserving at all times at least 199 surface parking stalls there. So there's no loss of parking, more than ample parking I think they need by code, but we want to keep that. In order to keep that at all times, even during construction, we had to shrink our footprint and go a little bit higher in order to accommodate that constraint so we can take care of the employees at the hotel. What works out is that it ends up being giving us an amazing gift because now we can really theme the project. Everything in this project, and here's the rendering that we would propose on the site. It actually pencils, by the way, is heavily curated. We want to honor the history of the Byron Nelson being here. Obviously, the Nelson Club is named in Byron Nelson's honor. His statue's there. I'm part of the Salesmanship Club, and the Salesmanship Club regrets ever leaving Las Colinas. But this is really his home, and a long time, everyone identifies with it. So we're on Byron Nelson Way. What's unique about the building is that if you see the lower stack of this building, It's basically 11 stories from the podium to the top. And the idea there is to theme and honor what Mr. Byron Nelson is most famous for, which is 11 straight wins in 1945. And so every single level will be themed along with those significant wins, which again will be unlikely to be replicated. The other portion of the tower goes from 1 to 18 would be the residential units, and like he also won 18 total rounds in 1945, but more to the point, it's really 18 holes of golf. And so we want to celebrate the uniqueness of Irving and having these phenomenal country clubs in the area where people come from all over the world to come and celebrate a beautiful sport by theming each one of those levels. And then on the top floor, when we asked members of the club, when we asked the hotel, what are things that we can do to provide the community, provide our membership, provide the general area that really can't be done at the hotel, can't be done at the club. And that's a 19th hole experience. So on the 19th floor, we'll have a 19th hole, which is a wonderful place where people can have a nice dinner, drink, and celebrate all that Irving has to offer. I'll actually pause there. That's basically our presentation. Again, this is, we believe it's the right fit. We've addressed some of the concerns that was raised earlier. I think in the planning zoning approvals, there was concern about traffic. We've had a traffic impact memo prepared, which basically said that the existing use would generate, commercial use would generate at least 6 times as much traffic as our project would, using the same amount of land. And so, and I think that's obvious, it's only 89 units here, so relatively low impact. You know, if you think about Crow Run has 331 units, you think about the different densities in the area. This is relatively low density. We talked about capacity. We worked closely with staff since the last meeting, and we confirmed that the capacity exists as it stands now for the project as programmed. And so we checked that box as well. I think those are the two sort of major concerns that was coming out of the planning and zoning approvals. But beyond that, we want to be a good neighbor. We believe it has a good additional value to the city. Just so you know, that the lot over the last 25 years has generated somewhere around to about $200,000 worth of real estate tax value. This project over that same duration would be $205 million of real estate tax value, with having little to no impact on the schools or additional areas, because the reality is a lot of these folks won't necessarily have families, though they're welcome to. And so that would be additional tax value that helps provide for infrastructure, not only for this area, but beyond, throughout the city of Irving, schools, county hospitals. And so I think that addresses everything. I'm happy to answer any questions if there are any. But we're really excited about it, we're passionate about it, and we humbly ask for your approval so we can proceed.
So, Mr. Lake, what we'll do is we have people that want to speak for and people that want to speak against. We'll let them speak. We have a lot of speakers. They'll each get 3 minutes. And then you have, at the end, some time to, if there's things that you think were misspoken or something you want to reemphasize to us, you will be able to do it at that time.
Perfect. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So, Shanae, we have speakers.
Yes, we do, Mayor. I understand these are somewhat companion items, so some people signed up for 32 and 33. I'm going to name the people that are not speaking, but they're in favor of it. In favor, no speaking. Don and Bob Bourgeois, Kay Ward, Oscar Ward. Those are the in favor, not speaking. The in opposition, not speaking. Leighton Eves, Carol Robinson, Linda Christofferson, Linda Wolliver, Sandy Mock, Sue Coons, Elizabeth Gregory, Randy Ellis, Sandy Ellis, Jerry Kratulia, and Patricia Caperton. Now I'm going to call the in favor speaking. And there's not a lot of room up front. So the first speaker is Faisal Saeed, followed by Patrick Andul. Faisal? You'll have 3 minutes. I'll let you know when 1 minute's left. Please state your name and address for the record.
Sure. Yes, good evening, council members. My name is Faisal Sayed. I own a property at 8647 Windsor Ridge, which is about less than half a mile from this proposed site. I also happen to be a civil engineer with a specialty in traffic engineering, so I wanted you to understand that. I have been a resident in Irving for about 8 years. I moved here from Dallas mainly. I love to play golf. I'm also a longtime member at Nelson Club. Now, I'm not a developer, but I just think of it as a homeowner, what this project will do to my property if I live here. And I'm just only purely speaking from that perspective. I think of it that I own a property here. If this development is to come, potentially it's a very high-value project, a high-value property. All the units that are going to be built will be sold at a much higher value, which will have a residual impact on, selfishly, my own property. It will increase in value. I also think about being a traffic engineer. I think like, okay, well, how much traffic is going to add? Is it going to hurt me? Will I have long, And I personally think actually it is actually totally opposite. That because I do this for a living, I know that if you think of it this way, that the same amount of land where this project is going to be built with less than 100 units, by the time it's done, maybe 30% of the units will be bought by individuals who may or may not live here all the time and won't have, like it's not a traditional family setup. Versus if you just put 2 McDonald's there, or 1 more grocery store, or 1 more Starbucks, it will generate a whole bunch more traffic. But I'm not against that either. I mean, sure, somebody can put a Starbucks, I like that. But looking at just the property from what it will bring to the value to as a Irving, as an amenity, I think that that is something that Dallas doesn't have. And in general, it will be good for the overall
1 minute left.
development of this area as well as for the properties in general. And that is really what I wanted to share. Thank you for your time.
Patrick Andul, followed by Darren Spar Sloan.
Good evening. My name is Patrick Andel. My wife and I have lived in Las Colinas area for 4.5 years. I have the great pleasure of working with Harry Lake professionally on the office building that he mentioned in his presentation. I can attest that Mr. Lake is a man of great integrity, somebody who has great attention to detail, but is also somebody who's very passionate about his community and his city. He has been instrumental in our building in bringing 2 large corporate users to the Las Colinas area, both of which have been great corporate citizens. One of the challenges that we face in attracting companies to the Las Colinas area is the shortage or lack of executive housing. I think the building, the beautiful building that he has proposed in his presentation goes a long way to addressing that need and will further help the city of Irving to continue to attract the companies that we seek and help the business community to grow and to thrive. I can't think of anybody better to run point on this development than Mr. Lake, given the passion he has for the community. I think it would be a great addition to the Las Colinas area and help bring further business to the area. Thank you.
Darren Spar Sloan, followed by David Sanchez.
You guys can call me Spar. I don't know where that came from, but I'll take it. Awesome. Thank you for your time. My name's Darren Sloan. I live at 710 Will Rice Avenue, which is about a mile from this piece of property. I drive, walk, run, ride my bike by this piece of property probably 10 times a day. I eat at the restaurant, shop at the grocery store. I'm a 35-year resident of Irving. I've owned several businesses here in town, 4 different houses, and so I just say all that to say that I love Irving and I'm invested in the community. I work out across the street. I'll be as impacted as anyone, I think, by any negative of this property, and yet I can't think of anything negative about it. It just seems like everything about this project is positive. And unfortunately, I don't think I'll ever darken the doors of the place. Can't afford to live like that, but it would sure make me proud to be a resident in a city that has development like this. And I can't help but think that what the previous gentleman said, that this will increase all of our property values. It just seems like a great thing for the city of Irving. Would hate to see this not happen for Irving. I think any longtime resident of Irving that sees these corporations come into our city and yet nobody that works there lives here and invests in our community. And this would be a great opportunity for those people to do those things. And so just strongly in favor of the project. I'll just say with a little bit of my time, as I was signing up to speak, there were several people here for the project attempting to sign up to speak but ran out of time. And so I know that there's several more pro voices back behind me. And so thank you for your time and your consideration and for all that you guys do.
David Sanchez, followed by Hisham Al-Gagel.
Good afternoon, Councilman. My name is David Sanchez. I live at 1314 Travis Circle North. I've lived there 7 years. Before that, I lived at 619 West Union Bower Road, just up the street here. And so I've, my wife's back there. Oh, my wife's up here coming up with, with our children. And we use that road every day, right in front where this is going to be built. So our concern was, you know, for my family, whether we're going to have some kind of obstructions or what's going to be happening. But we've known, I've known Harry for a long time, and he is a man of integrity. He's true to his word. So I feel very confident in his company that he's going to take care of the community and of my family and everybody there, because we don't, you know, I've lived in South Irving. I've seen what happens when you know, when you're not protected in a good spot, and we feel very protected and we're very confident where we live now in that area in Cottonwood. And I've also spoken to Faso, the professional, the engineer, and he's with his confidence that, yeah, there's not going to be much disturbance to us. And yeah, we hope that you guys approve the project, because we think, you know, I think my family, my kids will enjoy. You know, I think it's gonna, the amenities it's gonna have will help out the whole community. And yeah, we thank you for your time.
Hisham. Followed by Kevin Welliver.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Hisham Elgahil. I've been a resident in Irving for 15 years, all at 4512 Redwood Court, less than a mile away from the proposed project. Today, I'd like to express my support for this unique residential project proposed by Harry Lake. I think our city's always been known for a strong sense of community and a rich history and a vibrant culture, which continues to progress every single year. And I think these qualities make it a really special place to live. And I have no doubt that this project only strengthens those unique traits. The proposed residential development, I think it offers a number of really unique benefits, included much needed housing, especially in the executive housing department, as one gentleman mentioned earlier. We do have a growing population in that area. I think it's going to attract new businesses. I was a partner in one of the businesses that moved headquarters from a previous Dallas location to Irving, so I'm very aware of what unique properties like this does for our local economy here, and it's going to strengthen that local economy. In my opinion, it's not just a building. It represents a huge step forward for us. So I think a few people mentioned the unique offerings that are in the uptown Dallas area. I was somebody that at 22 years old drove through the Cottonwood, Windsor Ridge Enclave neighborhood literally every weekend and said, you know, one day I'm going to live in this area. And at age 30, I bought my first, the plot of land that I live on and built my house there. So I'm very attracted and have a deep belief in the area. I think the city's vision for modernization and growth is something that really needs to be taken seriously here. And I think if you look on the City of Irving's website, it notes, and I quote, safe and beautiful neighborhoods in a vibrant economy while respecting the unique character that makes our city so beloved. And I think by embracing this project, we can ensure that our city remains a desirable place to live for current and, as David mentioned earlier, future generations as well. So I've personally seen very similar projects to this one. I lived in the uptown area. Yes, ma'am. I lived in the uptown area before I moved here. I lived at the Ashton Building, which is across from the Ritz property down there in the Crescent Hotel, and watched many projects like this go up. Not quite as unique, obviously, but what it does for the city is really, really impactful, and I think that needs to be noted here. So I'm excited about the possibilities of the project, strongly in support of it. Like other people that have spoken, I live only a mile away from there. There's no, of course, we're going to have some level of disturbance, but I have a little 12-year-old boy. I teach him every day that temporary inconvenience leads to permanent gains, and I think we need to look at this project in that way. So thank you for your consideration. I would really strongly encourage support of the project.
Kevin Welliver, followed by Kim Macy.
Okay, Elmo. Good evening, Mayor, City Manager, Council members. My name is Kevin Wooliver. I've been an Irving resident for 48 years and have lived at 717 Sam Hill Street in Millswood Square for the past 24. I'm here to oppose the future land use category change, item number 32, for business office to community village at 900 Byron Nelson Way. The community village classification was created in 2023 to identify areas for low-intensity mixed-use development for a proposed use. What is the proposed use in this case? Phase 1, build a 19-story high-rise condo. Phase 2, some type of mixed-use development. Low intensity, that does not fit the community village classification because this would be anything but low intensity. This proposal is extreme, to say the least. The impact this would have to the primarily residential community would be severe. A densely populated 19-story high-rise would increase traffic, not to mention noise and emissions pollution for the surrounding neighborhoods. Additional traffic lights would be required at both of our side street intersections, further exacerbating the situation. At June 27th council meeting, a zoning case was denied. Recall that case involved an accessory dwelling unit. It was denied because it would create, as I quote from Mr. Cronenwet, more congestion, imposition on the infrastructure of the city. It increases housing density, creating parking issues, making the streets tighter, which is an issue for the emergency vehicles. If that single ADU is thought to cause those issues, what do you think a 19-story condo constructed in a parking lot at the corner of 2 residential side streets will do? We don't know because there hasn't been traffic, water, sewer studies completed to determine if this lot can support a 19-story multifamily condo mixed-use development. At the least, this should be done first before voting to change the future land use designation. We, the residents, know it would be disastrous to our neighborhood, and there's significant opposition by the constituents of this area. This pin map right here illustrates this very clearly that we are against it. There is no doubt that the city would economically and benefit from the development of this size and magnitude. Finding a location where this 19-story high-rise condo symbiotically exists with the environment is important. Forcing it in this parking lot in this residential neighborhood at the corner of these 2 side streets should not be that location. This lot was zoned first to fit the residential neighborhood, and nothing has changed. We would really appreciate it if you would not use our neighborhood to be a test showcase for an infill development because it does not fit this location. I urge the City Council to listen to the outcry of the citizens that will be most affected and vote no or pass a motion to postpone until detailed impact studies can be conducted and reviewed. And I know there's a lot of other people here that are against this that may not have been mentioned. If I can ask them to stand just quickly so the City Council can recognize you, I would greatly appreciate it. Thank you for your time.
Kim Macy, followed by Pam Blackwell.
Lady, gentlemen, thank you for your time. I'll be real short today. My name is Kim Macy. I live at 716 at Sam Hill. I've lived there for almost 30 years. Prior to that, I lived about a couple of miles down the road, so I've been an Irving resident for a very long time. This is my home, too, 30 years, much longer than some of these people that have been talking today. It was interesting to me that the maps that Mr. Lake showed only showed the western parts of this project. Showed the golf course, it showed Cottonwood Valley, it showed Tom Thumb Shopping Center. It didn't show Quail Run, it didn't show my neighborhood, it didn't show the areas to the south. Those areas will be impacted too, not only by traffic, by noise pollution, by light pollution. I want you to consider that when you vote today. I'm going to speak on the next issue as well, so I'm going to leave this pretty short, but I just want you to think about those people as well. Thank you so much.
Pam Blackwell, followed by Catherine Carr.
Hello. My name's Pam Blackwell. I live at 4529 North O'Connor in Unit 1184 in Irving, Texas. Prior to that, I have lived on Northgate. I've been a Las Colinas resident for over 25 years. I love this neighborhood, and that is why I was interested in what COA Development was planning for this parcel of land. So I went to the presentation made last Friday night. As much as they spoke about the multifamily building that would only include 89 units, the wide array, they did not address the wide array of mixed uses of which they are seeking approval for the future Phase 2 part of this development. And indeed, COA partners may not have plans for this section, but their partner, Marriott, or their partner in this, Marriott International, might. Why else would they want included as possible uses for parking as hotel, office, retail, restaurant, private club, indoor amusement, nightclub, dance hall, commercial, and multifamily? In particular, I'm concerned about the indoor amusement. As the push for casino gambling comes before our state, this would open the door for allowing a casino directly across the street from me. My concern is also about the nightclub/dance hall. If this zoning application passes, it will adversely affect the fabric of our well-established residential and quiet neighborhood. It would likely bring increased traffic and noise later into the night than what we currently experience, as well as increased odds of drunk drivers driving on our neighborhood streets. If COA Development would be willing to remove both the indoor amusement and nightclub from their application tonight before this vote, I would not oppose to this development. Otherwise, please vote, protect our neighborhood, and vote no for this. Thank you.
Catherine Carr, followed by Karen Vickner.
Got this right?
Good evening, Mayor Stopfer and Council. I'm Catherine Karff.
Ms. Karff, can you please pull the microphone down to you? Thank you.
I'm Catherine Karff, residing at 4547 North O'Connor, right across Leland. This is a beautiful project with lots of advantages for Irving, but it's the wrong locale for it. For most of us, our homes are probably the largest and most significant investment we'll make. I've lived at Quail Run for 40 years. It'd be a shame to destroy the character of my home's neighborhood with exponential traffic congestion and a high-rise looming over it. To quote Councilman Cronenwet when denying a home single ADU at the June 27th council meeting, quote, "This could cause more congestion, imposition on the infrastructure of the city. It increases housing density, creates parking issues, makes the streets tighter, which is an issue for emergency vehicles," end quote. With this zoning change and future development, there will be constant traffic congestion, noise, and emissions pollution that would affect the traveling public as well as nearby residents. In the planning meeting, I believe the developer said the condos would be soundproofed, which the dwellings in the surrounding neighborhoods are not. He said the building would quiet down the road's traffic. That's hardly the case. This development would require, at a minimum, 2 added stoplights, one at Leland and Byron Nelson, and one at Leland and Northgate. This will be a nightmare, especially during the morning and afternoon rush hours. Already, traffic during rush hour going up Leland to go west on Northgate cuts off traffic at Byron Nelson, a safety hazard. Other safety considerations, fire evacuation with fire trucks with extenders, 18-wheelers bringing in supplies. These are side streets, not a main thoroughfare like North MacArthur. We're concerned by the density of this project on 5+ acres with buildings 7 and 20 stories
1 minute
high.
left.
Buildings having 80% lot coverage and another 10% for parking and drives. It's not as if there were residences with large homes and green space and taking up a significant area, or commercial development and parking and not much green space. It's mixed use with high density, very tall buildings looming over homes that is much, much closer to our homes than the current hotel. The project, if built as described, will be very dense from what is now a parking lot. It would be overload the neighborhood with traffic akin to the Byron Nelson golf tournament, 365 days a year. Several members, including the vice chair of the Planning Commission, who lives right in the area, objected to the height for the plan. Traffic is a bear and would be more of a bear. Yes, traffic's already brisk. In fact, has increased in the last 5 years without adding any density.
3 minutes.
Okay. This project
That's all,
would
Ms.
be
Carf. We have a lot of speakers.
would help Irving, but at twice the height of the hotel
Ms.
is
Carf,
too high surrounding
take a seat.
neighborhoods. I just want to.
Your mic has been turned off. Please take a seat. Karen Vickner, followed by Trudy Smith.
My name is Karen Vickner. I live at 520 West Northgate Drive, which is about half a mile from this location. So what I'd like to address, there's 2 item numbers. For item number 2, which is to change the land use category from business office to community village. I suggest I recommend that you guys oppose that, because in Irving City's own land use designation, it states that the community village is low mixed use, 2 to 4 stories. 18 stories, a lot more than 4, okay? So you can name that something else, but it's not a community village. So I think is pretty black and white. On the other one, on 33, which is to do an SP1 or SP2 designation, which gives them a lot more leeway to do what they want. As other people have pointed out, this property is surrounded by long-standing residential properties. My stepfather bought his property when it was built in 1975. He has been a member of that sports club since it was built in the 1980s. Okay, we have lived here all our lives. All I'm saying is that Irving City ordinances for height for buildings, by code, the largest height along Highway 183 is 150 feet. Lake Carolyn, which is an urban overlay, 120 feet is in code. They are proposing an 18-story building, which is over 250 feet in height. 99.5% of the buildings in that area are under 40 feet in height. This is just a giant thumb in the middle. And because of its location, unless you guys all approve either SP2 designations for all those other properties, it's going to be the only 18-story building in that area. So I'm just asking that you do not approve this.
1 minute left.
Send them back, tell them that I'm not opposed to mixed use. I'm just opposed to the height of this building. Thank you very much.
And last speaker on this item is Trudy Smith.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Trudy Smith. I live at 1002 North Gloucester, have lived there for 58 years. Prior to that, I also lived in Irving for 4 more years. Our 5 children were born here. Many of them are grandparents now. In other words, I'm a great-grandmother. I have lived in my neighborhood for so long. I have watched it grow. There was nothing north of Northgate when we moved there. As a matter of fact, MacArthur was a small road at the time. To put 18, 19, 20 story doesn't matter. Once you get past 10, you're out of reach. Or you should be here in Irving, at least this close to a residential area in which people have raised their families, in which they invested their lives. No, we're not of the executive class. No, we will not join this club or that club. We will not go to the dance things. It doesn't matter. What matters is that this is a residential area. And that place, that building should not be there. The people that really, really want it are mostly interested in investments, whether it's their own property or whether it's their company's investment. We are interested in our homes. And it's very interesting. I knew nothing about this proposed zoning until a gentleman came to my door and told me. Now, I know the zoning measures, I think it's 200 feet around, and people in that area are notified. Well, a 19-story or whatever size building that is should really be on more area for people to be notified, because many, many more people are involved.
1 minute left.
Thank you very much for your time, and please consider that Irving is a family town as well. Thank you.
Okay, that's our last speaker on this. Mr. Lake, if you would like to.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Council. And thank you, residents, actually. Thank you for all the feedback. You know, we're early in the process, and so this is a first step to sort of delivering something special. We actually accelerated the investment in the design and things because there was a lot of misinformation. People thought this wasn't a residential project. People thought it wasn't a home ownership project. People thought it was over 150 units of you know, less, like one of the gentlemen said, this is less than 100 units, actually 89 units. And it's responsible, you know. It's on the backside of a Tom Thumb. It's a surface parking lot. It's got a lot of distance from the homes. I actually am probably one of the closest homes in proximity to this. I walk this property often. I wouldn't say daily, but pretty close to daily. I know every tree on the Las Colinas Association parcel. I know that there's a marker there that honors John Carpenter. That was recently pulled because I found out I looked at it and it was gone, and it's because the lawnmowers that the LCA uses was getting damaged by that plaque. I know that because I live there. I live here and I walk here and I pray here. In fact, my pastor, who happened to doing today's invocation today, which is bizarre because he only does it once or twice a year, reminded me that I also worship less than, you know, I'm the closest church to the site at O'Connor and Northgate. And so this is more than just a project. I do want to address some of the concerns. One of the ladies here said, hey, would the developer be willing to remove nightclub? That is not our intention. So if that's something that's helpful, we would gladly do that. I am personally opposed to sort of the proliferation of poker clubs. So if there's language in there to prevent that, we're happy to do that. I mean, that is not the intent here. The intent here is to have a residential project and to have a place at the top that we thought would be great to take executives to, out-of-towners to celebrate all that Irving has to offer. And so the rooftop 19th hole is cost neutral. The idea is to have a place where other people can enjoy the best part of the building. And so that's our goal. That's our focus. We actually sent out notices that reached out to over 80,000 people, just so people know. I mean, we tried our best, and we're continuing to communicate with the neighborhoods. And honestly, all the people on the folks that signed a petition, I'm happy to meet with anybody. We've opened ourselves up. I think Catherine will know I'll take calls at 8:30 p.m. at night. And so, I mean, this is something really important. We wouldn't do that for other projects, but this project we do because we care. A consultant's not in front of me and our team. I'm here because this is very personal. And we're not hiring a consultant to work us through a process. We're personally putting ourselves out here. My wife puts herself personally out here. This is something that I'm going to have to live with because we're here for a long time. My kids are going to graduate from a local school here. Hopefully they're having a nice dinner date out here. And that's our purpose, is have a legacy that all of us can enjoy and be proud of. I think I've addressed everything, but if I haven't, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Okay, thank you. Does the council have any questions of Mr. Al and then John?
Hi, Harry, how are you?
Good.
Let me ask a question, because I think probably the major concern that I kind of heard this evening was the height, and I think it's 18 stories, am I correct?
That's right.
And if I'm not mistaken, the Ritz-Carlton is now, it has been in the past, as we well know, a 10-story building.
Right. That's right.
So when I look around that area, 18 stories is really, it's pretty substantial, shall I say. It sticks up. And so I'm wondering, when you made your decisions to go to 18 stories, other than the financial return on it, what were your thoughts about not trying to keep it within something around 12 stories, 10 to 12, so that it was compatible with the area?
Sure. In the original design, first of all, Councilman, thank you for raising that. In the original design, we actually had a slightly lower building that's crossed over all 6 acres. What came out was that the hotel actually needs to be preserved parking at all times during construction of 125, or Russia 199 stalls. We're providing 125 stalls. And that forced our footprint to shrink up. And so that forced us to get a little bit taller. We felt like it was responsible because the hotel, when it was first developed at the time, was actually much taller than anything in the area and continues to be much larger. So we wouldn't propose this almost anywhere else except for relatively adjacent to the hotel on the backside, Tom Thumb, in between 2 loading docks. This would obviously not work if we were on the 17th hole. This would not work if we were on the south side or the north side of the tennis courts, where there's some housing going on there. This is really the only spot that I think works, and we've actually set it as close as we possibly can to the hotel in order to have a transition. We've done, shadow tests and things like that. There's nothing that encroaches on the area neighbors. And as we're going through it, there's a number of units that we need to provide in order for, like you said, a financial reason to actually make it pencil. These projects are not easy. We have to have a critical mass of residents in order to justify the cost of this. This project will be the most expensive residential project in Irving, for sure, on a per square foot basis, but we think that's ready. But on the flip side, this would be the cheapest Ritz residences units in the entire country. So, you think about on both sides of that equation, but we think it's appropriate.
Second question. Mike. Thank you. There's a quadrant that's right at the corner of Leland and Northgate. Who owns that?
Leland North, that's Las Colinas Association. There's a vacant parcel. Yes, that's LCA. LCA also owns the other acre that's actually opposite of at the Leland and Byron Nelson Way. If you continue on.
Okay,
So
thank
both
you.
both the vacant parcels are LCA owned.
Okay, thank you. It's a
And
beautiful
our
project.
our goal is to work with LCA to beautify both those parcels to the extent that we can do that, because now there's enough critical mass in the around area to do that. And we would do our part to create connectivity. So our vision in a perfect world would be, it'd be a wildflower garden that everyone could celebrate at. You don't have to drive to Waxahachie to take your family to get a background picture of a wildflower. You can do something like literally right there, and it'd be phenomenal. That'd be our goal, because we're landscaping this particular parcel to be themed along, like Augusta. So sort of a celebration of where Byron Nelson won a major tournament. And so the idea is to reflect that here. And we're working with the Greens team at the golf course to do sustainable landscaping here that would be consistent with the general area.
Let me finalize my last question. Discussions, obviously, because you're going to be abutting the one of the favorite restaurants that we have, Via Real, and a few other locations. Had you had discussions and feedback, and what has it been?
We have. We had the blessing of working with Via Real and Spirit Grill. Both attended the Friday meeting, and I wish they had an opportunity to speak. Hopefully, maybe you can open the mic. I think Bridget's here, but they can speak on behalf of our coordination. Our goal for the 19th Grill is very clear. We don't want to be in conflict with Via Real. We don't want to be in conflict with Spirit Grill, and we don't want to be in conflict with Knife. The idea is to have another opportunity to have a tablecloth dining experience that everyone could enjoy that complements the offerings that we have right there in the neighborhood. So yes, there's been coordination, and we're attending the event that they're having on Sunday to help celebrate that, that supports the firefighters' children.
And I'm sure you had discussions with the Knife.
I'm sorry?
I'm sure you've had discussions with the restaurant.
Oh, Knife? Oh, absolutely. I mean,
'Cause
yes, the idea is these residents will have an opportunity. So Knife is curating one of the best wine collections, they would argue, in DFW. And so our residents will be able to have wine lockers there and have dinners catered by them in the building itself. So it'd be a seamless transition. And we love to work with Via Real to do something similar as well. But yes, we're working closely.
Okay, it's a great project. I just wish it was a little, you could lop off about 4 stories or so. I'd probably be happy, but that's your call. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
John.
Thank you, Mayor. So my question is going to involve Jocelyn, so while I talk a little bit, you can come down. This is a comprehensive plan case, so being a rule follower, I like to restrict my questions to that subject, but I'm going to have to break that policy because the question I want to ask kind of has to get into the land use questions. One of the speakers in opposition requested that if we're not going to deny it, could we at least delay it until these studies are done? Now, Jocelyn, I've never heard of us doing that unless the developer wants to self-fund their own studies. We don't hold zoning up for studies, do we?
It's typically good to at least have started the process, but this is a land use entitlement. And you could go through this entire process, and if they can't get their water and if they can't get everything, the project can't be built. So
Right.
this is just an entitlement exercise.
So we could approve this, and if traffic says, actually, you know what, there's no way this works, or water, all these departments, if any of them say, no, there's just no way unless you take it down to 12 stories.
Right,
They have to do that, right?
correct.
If they want to build, and they don't have to build.
Right, they'll not get their building permit. There's a civil process through the building permit, and if they don't have everything approved, then they can't proceed to build.
Yeah,
And-
so
yeah.
is there any interest in postponing pending self-funded studies?
We actually postponed it last time. Obviously, this is delayed since June 27th, and we have done a preliminary traffic study, and the reality is that the existing use would generate 6 times as much traffic. So, and I think it's well understood that would be the case. So we feel like we checked there. We have done some preliminary discussions with staff that the current 89 units, there's capacity for that. So we think we've done the due diligence. We're willing to take the risk to get through the zoning, and then if for some reason we reach a snag in permitting, we'll have to adjust. But we have delayed, at the request of some of the constituents, we didn't even challenge you. We said, yeah, absolutely, to have these conversations.
Okay.
Thank you.
Well, I'll have more questions that have more to do with land use for the next case, but as far as the comprehensive plan, I'm completely comfortable with this designation.
Brad?
Yeah, I wanted to bring Jocelyn back up too for a second. Sorry about that, but I too have some, I'm probably jumping ahead a little bit, but I really need to in my own mind. But the way I read the notes, the indoor amusement would require a conditional use permit to be approved by the council prior to the issuance.
Right.
So that is not part of anything tonight.
It's part of the SP. So we had that discussion as we were massaging this, and the concern was, you know, an indoor amusement being allowed by right. So they willingly added to have the indoor amusement by conditional use permit, just as if it were, you know, within 500 feet of single family, or, you know, how we have it elsewhere in the city. So it is something they voluntarily added. So it would go through that additional notification and zoning process if they wanted to do one.
That would be later, though. That would be a different vote?
Yes. So that's not an intended use today, but if they chose to do that as a tenant space or something, they would have to go through that process.
I mean, I'll make myself clear, I don't favor any sort of poker house or poker club either. I think they're a terrible use. And then on the second note, so a request to sell alcoholic beverages would still require what you call SP1 zoning, and so RAB, which is the kind of Irving's unique zoning, that would also come later outside of tonight?
Right. So if they have a tenant for the upper level for the restaurant that wants to sell alcohol, which I assume they will, then that will have to go back through the RAB process.
Now, business office is what the current comprehensive plan anticipates. What size of an office could he build now?
So we've talked about this a couple times. It used to be business district until last year, and then we converted that category to business office to narrow it down a little bit. Business office envisions a little more of what we have in Las Colinas on 114, the multi-level office towers, if you want to use that terminology. But that's what business office is visualized to be.
Some of them are pretty tall, though, right?
Some of them are.
Now, my other question is, going to one of the comments, I think, to zone this to community village was the request. Does this fit community village or not?
We only have 2 mixed-use categories. We have community village and we have transit-oriented development, which are kind of on the 2 ends of future land use. The transit-oriented development is supposed to be where if you're within a half mile of a rail station, and it allows more intensity. It's intended to allow that. So those were the 2 options we had, because those are 2 categories we had, so we chose to go with community village because it is a mixed-use category.
Okay, thank you.
What have I got? Mark. Thank you, Mayor. I want to say that thank you, Harry Lake, for engaging the community like you had. This is a very big project, very transformative for the community. As the neighbors have said, a lot of people that live there a very long time, this is really going to fundamentally change what they're used to. But then you consider it doesn't make sense for that location. Just because it's different doesn't mean it's necessarily bad. As you talked about before, the studies would show that if commercial development came in there would be even more traffic. And then you look at what do we envision for what it's going to happen to the city in the future, and more high rises is eventually where we're going to go. And A lot of that will be, I would think, in the urban center, but this is close to that. And this will likely be a springboard to that in the future. And so all development, we have to move one way or another as far as the city goes. This is a very positive development for where we want to be as a city. And there's a demand for it. You've talked before, I went to the meeting on Friday about a lot of people in the area that when they want to downsize, they'll move to Dallas or somewhere else. So we want to keep our residents here. This provides a solution for them. And it's capturing a lot of revenue, a lot of people with high income levels who will frequent our businesses, support the tax base of the city, the school district, the community college district, all of that. And so I get that it's an imposition on the families that have been there for so long, but considering what else could go in there, and also that this is something that we want as a city anyway, that it's a very positive thing. So I'm in favor of the case.
Thank you, Councilmember.
Councilman Zapata. I'm sorry.
I want to make one more comment too. As far as like the comparison to ADUs, I just want to mention something about that. So the ADUs are single-family neighborhoods where these dwelling units are being put in people's backyards, and it's very different than this. This is not a residential street. I mean, those are for residential streets, residential neighborhoods, and if there's a proliferation of that, then you have these rental units and backyards with the noises associated with that. And then when you get, as more and more come along, and if people start doing that, or allowed to do that, and then rent them out, then there is going to be more traffic, and there's going to be more of an imposition on the infrastructure. So you got to deal with your infrastructure. We talked about that a little bit. Right. And so whether, sewage and water and also just how much more traffic that's going to be, although that isn't, I don't think that's going to be an issue, but ADUs are a very completely different situation.
Okay, Al?
Yeah, Harry, one last question. Tablecloth restaurant, bottom floor or top floor?
We're seeing top floor. So the idea is that part of your question was about the height. That we're theming it. This is a 19th hole. A lot of times when people come off a golf course, they're like, hey, I want to go to the 19th hole. Well, this will literally be the 19th hole. And so the idea is the 19th floor would have the restaurant.
So top floor? Top floor,
yes.
Good.
Sorry. yeah.
It'll
So you
give
can go see the
competition.
sunrise and sunset.
It'll give another view that we don't have from listening.
It's the only offering that the club and the hotel cannot
All right.
provide.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, any more questions of the applicant? Seeing none, I'll go ahead and close it to the floor and bring it back to the council for discussions or motions. John?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Would you please vote? And it passes unanimously. That takes us to item number 33, which is ordinance 2024-109ZC, considering a zoning change from PUD 1 CN Planned Unit Development Number 1 for neighborhood commercial uses to SP2 mixed uses, generalized site plan mixed uses, and establishing development standards for urban style development at 900 Byron Nelson Way, also known as 701 Mills Lane, postponed from the June 27th meeting. Harry, do you have anything you would like to add at the beginning, or you just want to go ahead and go through the people that want to speak, and then you can speak at the end?
Okay. We have Mr. Kevin Williver, followed by Kim Macy.
Petition map. Again, my name is Kevin Wolliver. I live at 717 Sam Hill for 24 years. I'm here to oppose the zoning change, to urge to vote no and encourage development elsewhere. Some would say that many of us here tonight are anti-growth, but that simply is not correct. We're all for growth and development in areas where it makes common sense. Putting a 19-story mixed-use condo in a parking lot adjacent to 3-story condos built in the 70s, several single-family neighborhoods built in the 70s through the 90s, and also within a local school district is not making common sense. If built, it would completely and adversely change the character of our predominantly residential neighborhood. A traffic impact analysis and a sewer capacity study has yet to be done by the city traffic and water departments. At least these should be done prior to putting this zoning change to vote. The developer says that a 19-story condo will be less the traffic impact than developing the area with residential housing and retail. We have not seen any data to back up this claim, so until that data is provided, this claim is just merely talking points. Did anyone reach out to the surrounding neighborhoods to get our input or feedback? I don't believe so. At least I know I wasn't ever contacted. If notified, we would have attended the planning and zoning meeting and voiced our concerns before it was approved by a narrow 5-3 vote. I found out walking to Tom Thumb from my home where I saw a city sign. I now understand my neighborhood is outside the 200-foot notification. We are 500 feet away and had no clue that this was in the works. 200 feet is such a small area. That ordinance needs to be changed. Since we are unaware, we started our own petition campaign and gathered a significant number of opposing signatures. Refer to the pin map. The surrounding neighborhoods show a major opposition to this project. If you stand on Leland and you look north, you would conclude that this high-rise building might fit nicely, since all you would see is a 9-story hotel, retail shopping, and a golf course. But do a 180 turn south, and this picture is much different. Now all you will see is residential communities that will be greatly impacted. Looking at the artist's rendition of the condo, there is no doubt that this will be a beautiful building and will greatly benefit the city. This isn't the issue. The real issue is the massive size and the density being constructed at a corner of 2 side streets in a parking lot adjacent to residential communities. The size and style of this building is better constructed in an area where it will aesthetically and environmentally fit. It will be twice the size of the Ritz-Carlton and even taller than the new Christus Healthcare at the corner of 114. In and around this area, we have already experienced an increase of traffic, crime, and loitering, and we fear that this will only increase further with this development. We urge you to vote no or pass a motion to postpone until detailed impact studies can be conducted and reviewed. Thank you.
Kim Macy, followed by Pam Blackwell.
Thank you all again. My home is exactly 697.88 feet from the site. In dry air, sound travels at approximately 1,125 feet per second, and I think it goes without saying exactly how fast light travels. There are 156 residents within a 1-mile radius and 306 residents within 2 miles of this site. Current infrastructure is already under strain. You know, I still think there are going to be dramatic increases in auto traffic with the site there, and it'll make daily traffic longer and more stressful. While MacArthur is being rebuilt, Byron, Nelson Way, Leland, and Mills are not built for an additional influx of workers, customers, and service vehicles, and that's going to necessitate costly upgrades. These streets will become bigger bottlenecks and further reduce the quality of life for nearby residents. You know, the building is just inconsistent with surrounding neighborhoods' residential character. It's going to overwhelm our existing homes, even the 3-story condos, and it's going to overwhelm the 9-story hotel. You know, plans show that these neighborhoods on these sides are going to receive, unquote, they're going to receive the dirty side of the storm, so to speak. The impact on these less valuable neighborhoods, closer to the subject the Cottonwood Valley is going to be more significant from an aesthetic appeal to the economic appeal. The parking lot will be over there. The pretty side is going to face the, you know, the hotel and the golf course in Cottonwood Valley. Our calm residential neighborhood, a key reason so many of us chose to live here, is going to be fundamentally disrupted. Construction and daily operation will increase noise and light pollution in the residential areas. Years-long construction is going to disrupt the peace and quiet that we currently enjoy. Once operational, the building will generate ongoing noise from increased traffic, delivery, and building operations from the street level up. A 19th floor facility with outdoor potential space open until late in the evening will introduce routine light and noise pollution top down into the neighborhoods. Residential units will add walkers into the neighborhoods with more dogs. My neighborhood is dog zero, and we have disrespectful people in our neighborhood with dogs all the time in connection with landscaping, grass, and trash. In conclusion, increased traffic, road repairs, incompatibility with the surrounding residential character, questionable economic viability, and significant noise and light pollution concerns for the surrounding area make it unsuitable for that site. I think it's a beautiful building. I think it's a beautiful project. I think it's in the wrong spot. I think it's too tall. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Catherine Karf, followed by Karen Vickner. I'm sorry? Pam Black. Okay, you're Pam? Come on up, Pam. And then Karen Karf. Sorry.
Hi, I'm Pam Blackwell. I live at 4529 North O'Connor, and I actually do live within the 200-foot notification. This 19-story building has been compared to the high-rises along Turtle Creek. And indeed, those are beautiful buildings, but not one of them is stuck smack dab in the middle of a residential area. This will adversely affect our neighborhood. COA developers touted the view from the restaurant at the top of the building as spectacular. Without question, it will be at the cost of hundreds of private homes that surround it. This will adversely affect my property value, one of my greatest investments in my life. And this does not go with the neighborhood. I understand progress, and indeed, it is a beautiful building. It should be 10 stories high at the maximum. This will block the sun. In Japan, I forget what it's called, but if you block the sun, you actually have to pay a penalty to the people that you have. And we will no longer, they will be able to see a beautiful sunset from the top of that building. We will no longer. Thank you. Please vote no.
Now Catherine Karf, and followed by Karen Vickner.
Hi, I'm still Catherine Karf, residing at 47 North O'Connor, and still lived at Quail Run for 40 years. This is a beautiful project with lots of advantages for Irving, but the location's inappropriate, and the 200-foot notification rule makes it impossible to get more than 6% of neighbors against it. A more realistic standard for this high-impact project would have been to notify homes in a far greater area. More than half of those signing the petition objecting to the project only originally heard through the rumor mill. Once they took the initiative to investigate, 99% decided it was inappropriate for the neighborhood community. With the zoning change and future development of this area, there will be constant traffic congestion, noise and emissions pollutions that would affect traveling public as well as surrounding residents. The developer said the building would quiet down the road's traffic, hardly the case. This development would require at a minimum 2 added stoplights, as I said before. These are side streets, not a main thoroughfare like North MacArthur. The surrounding neighborhood is strictly residential and not an appropriate place to establish standards for urban-style development. The proposed high-rise of 19 to 20 stories goes far above the hotel's 10 stories, and the high-rise is very much closer than the hotel to the existing residential neighborhood. It would take the neighbor out of neighborhood, and traffic noise pollution would disrupt the quiescence of the existing community. The community village mixed-use classification was created for low-intensity mixed-use development, but this proposal is for high-density, very tall buildings looming over nearby neighborhoods that is much closer to our homes than the current hotel. The project, if built out as described, would be a dense, sharp contrast to what's now just a parking lot.
1 minute left.
Okay. While it was a wonderful week that brought revenue to Irving, we were always glad when the Byron Nelson PGA tournament ended. With such tall structures, traffic would overload the neighborhood akin to having the tournament year-round. It'd be putting the cart before the horse to rezone the area before the necessary studies to assess infrastructure use, traffic analysis, water, sewing, plumbing, electricity. It's only common sense to do before approving and rezoning. Otherwise, it's too late. This would be a beautiful project to benefit Irving, but at twice the height of the hotel, it's too high for surrounding neighborhoods. Put it with all its advantages in the right area off the major thoroughfare. So please vote accordingly. Thank you for listening.
Thank you. Karen McNair, followed by Trudy Smith.
Karen Vickner, 520 West Northgate Drive. I'm with everybody else. The building's too tall. It's 18 stories, 19 stories. If you go over to the urban overlay Lake Carolyn, the tallest building there is 25 feet, and that's the one that looks over the park, not 2 square miles of neighborhoods, low-density buildings. So, and my other concern, which is why I'm going to ask you guys to make them change their plan, is that it has to do with that 19th floor restaurant. So they can look, so all these rich people can look over the golf course. Sound travels. That's going to be an open rooftop bar with nice, they're going to end up having dances and everything else, and sound travels. You know, thankfully my 97-year-old father is deaf, so he won't hear it. But my 82-year-old mother is not. Nor are all these people that live 500 feet from that product. So I'm just saying properties. I'm just saying it's the SB2, I just don't, it's such a broad use. They can put anything they want in there. I mean, obviously, put in a 19-story building when the highest zone is 150 feet. That's 266 feet, okay? 266 feet. So anyway, I really, it's too tall.
Sorry. Trudy Smith.
Still Trudy Smith, and I still have living for 58 years at the same house. Our backyard has been our joy. Now we will be a looking place. They can look straight down our yards. They can look straight down our neighborhoods. So the executives can do that. And if you notice the pictures that we saw, they all pointed north. We did not see that enormous building next to the hotel. Why? Because it's twice the size almost. And again, I don't believe any studies had really been done yet as to the impact. And I'm not talking about the city's bottom line. I'm not talking about the city's standards of social standard. I'm talking about common sense. Thank you.
That completes our speakers.
That's our last speaker. Harry, did you have any comments?
I think I've said most of our thing. I did want to address that. The building will be dog-friendly. We're going to have a very dog-friendly environment. Our goal is actually to have a very dog-friendly walkability area that will not only help this project, but the surrounding neighborhoods. So to the extent you have a dog, I think you're going to really enjoy it. We're actually adding more green space and available space than is currently provided by the surface parking lot. And then And again, our goal is to serve. I served in the military. My parents passed away fairly young. So I lived on my own since junior in high school. And so when the comment came out about the speed of sound and the speed of light, it actually resonated with me because I was a 13 Foxtrot in the military when we found, artillery rounds, when we had to, do these practice things, we would literally tell the distance if we're off or not between a difference of speed and sound. And so it just resonated with me that we're here to serve. Our goal is to provide a jewel for the city. And I think we've touched on that because some of the things, hey, is this appropriate and things like that. Our goal is to change a surface parking lot into something that everyone can be proud of. And I welcome the opportunity to have further conversation with everyone. I think we've had more than, there's a lot of concerns about notice. We actually extended the typical notice period, and I think we've been responsive to everybody who's reached out, and we will continue to be responsive. So thank you, Mayor.
Harry, the comment was made about a rooftop bar.
Oh, yeah.
It's not going to be open, is it, or is it going to be?
There'll be a little bit of an outdoor patio to look at it, but obviously I heard today's, we're obviously complying with all the decibels, the noise ordinance and things like that. The most expensive unit in the entire project is one level below the restaurant. So I promise you we will do nothing to jeopardize the value. In fact, we're actually taking a hit financially by providing a space that otherwise would be public, because that penthouse space is absolutely a jewel. But the reality is, I personally thought that that's where we want not the quote-unquote bad executives to live there, but actually the public to be able to access it. That's a restaurant to be curated by the Ritz. And so that's where people can go and access it. And so we would do nothing, I promise you, to jeopardize the value of that unit right below it in any way, fashion, form, or fashion. And so, but beyond that, we wouldn't do that. I mean, the idea is to keep the whole thing elegant and quiet and beautiful and a place where you do your anniversary, not where you party at night. So that's the goal.
John.
Thank you. All right. Now, as promised, I have more questions. So starting with you guys, so there are some comments. I have questions for you, Jocelyn, so don't get too comfortable. No, you first. There are some comments in here with easements and those sorts of things that are going to have to be worked out with platting. Are you guys going to be replatting the property for this?
The intent is not to replat. I mean, we clean it up, but it's one project. We're not breaking it up into different parcels or anything like that.
Okay, so the comments here about like needing to sort out the easements during platting, they're not applicable. Those easements are
I'm not
already
sure what
there.
easements. There was some on the survey. There were some dotted lines, but we weren't sure. I'm not sure if there was underlying utilities or things like that. But
Yeah, I'm not aware of any easement issues, but if there are easements that are required for maybe new utilities, then those can be done through a minor plat, or we can get those on a plat somehow if we need to.
Okay. Okay, so I want to ask some questions about the density question. So this is going to be for Jocelyn. What is the comprehensive plan's limit on density for the community village, like units per acre?
A low-density mixed use is probably, say, 30 units an acre, if you're going to do a 4 to 5 story product.
What about the TOD, like a more high?
That's I would say 90 to 110-ish. It depends on, you can have, 2 3-bedroom units, you're going to have a 1-bedroom unit, and that changes how you count density. But
Gotcha.
90-ish probably is what a high one is.
Okay, so my calculations are probably a little bit off because I didn't factor the bedrooms in, but I was just doing some back of the napkin math. At 5 acres with 90 units, you're looking at a little over 15 units per acre. That's not even half the density that neighborhood village or community village allows. In fact, R6, which is kind of the default standard residential lot, allows a maximum density of just over 7 units per acre, which is about half of what this is proposing. So as far as the density, I'm really not concerned about the density. What I am concerned about is this is a land use question, not a project question. I love your project. It looks great. I'm not voting on a project. I'm voting on a site plan. So the question is this a good future use for this property? Is this a good permanent use for this property until someone decides it's different. So one of my concerns when I was first looking at this was, essentially this is multifamily. And it's condos, which you get a little more buy-in into the community with a condo because you're not getting completely transient renters who have no, they're not putting roots down into the community through financial means necessarily. But then I saw minimum height. So we've heard a lot about maximum height, but we haven't heard anything about the minimum height. We're looking at 7 stories or 80 feet. So that, we get a lot of, we have a lot of aging apartment complexes. I call them the brick and stick complexes. Would you say that there's any brick and stick complex you've ever seen that could comply with that minimum height requirement?
No, absolutely not. I think at that level or higher, you're definitely at commercial grade construction. There is nothing along the golf course right now, I mean, that would compete in any way or fashion with the quality of the construction that this building would be developed at.
Okay.
Yep.
So what I'm hearing then is, worst case scenario, which I don't think is a likely scenario, but worst case scenario, the project you propose doesn't end up happening. Maybe it's, the traffic study says actually no. We make this zoning change, we're not going to get some dumpy apartments. If we get apartments, we're going to get nice commercial grade apartments because that's what it's zoned for.
Yes, that's absolutely correct. The staff did a great job making sure that the quality of the project would be maintained through the approval, so we absolutely agreed to it because it's consistent with our vision as well. But yes, there's no way you can build something with this zoning that hopefully is approved and deliver a project that'd be subpar in any way. Yeah.
I love to hear that. I also do want to commend you on voluntarily adopting or setting the standards for the indoor amusement uses and giving yourselves that 500-foot residential requirement to get the conditional use permit. We've been seeing a lot of those indoor uses kind of trying to come in near neighborhoods, and that is something that could be very disruptive to a neighborhood. And it's not just gambling, it's not just poker houses or nightclubs, it's also, you know, I mean, you get any popular indoor amusement use, and you're looking at people coming in there for hours at a time. That's tons of traffic, tons of parking needs. So what that means for anybody here who's not familiar with the technical language, if they want to do something like that that brings in that more intense use, they have to come to us and get approval, and we can put in requirements saying, okay, you can have that approval for 3 years, and if we don't like the way you're operating, you're done. So there are a lot of protections that they voluntarily put into this project, and I want to just commend you for really, you know, I instinctively kind of said, oh, I don't like this when I first saw it, but the more I read it, the more I saw that it was a very thoughtful approach to this project. So I commend you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Any other questions, Mr. Lake? Brad?
You mentioned the noise ordinance, but we discussed that at work session today and kind of a comprehensive re-edit of our noise ordinance. And so I don't think noise would be the biggest issue, certainly. Now, the 200-foot publishing requirement, it's either for KO or Jocelyn, that's by state law, that we have to publish to at least the 200 square feet to see if 20% of the owners within that 200 feet object, and then you have to have a 3/4 vote, correct?
Correct. So you have to notice to at least 200 feet, and that's what we have adopted by ordinance as the 200 feet. And then if the majority of property owners, and you calculate it by the land area within 200 feet, if over 20% are in opposition, that triggers a supermajority vote, which is 75% of council, so 7 of 9.
And can we change that in Irving, or is that just state law, the 200-foot mark?
You can change the notification area. You can't change the calculation area, but you can change the notification area.
We can't change the calculation for the 3/4 vote.
Correct.
Well, I mean, I've thought about this for a long time, and I share all those concerns. Like, I would like to publish a much broader radius than 200 feet, because this is something we've run into multiple times, and I get that those objections may, if there were objections, may not count towards a 3/4 vote, but I think it's particularly important. I mean, I would go at least probably 500 square feet. For the future, I'd like to discuss whether we want to do that. But I would agree, because a lot of things, we see this all the time, things pop up and nobody knew about it, and then it's a rush, even though it really was published earlier. You would have to have had noticed the yellow zoning sign, and I'm not always looking for those when I'm driving. I'm trying to pay attention to the road and that sort of thing. So I share that. The other concern that's always been on my mind lately, that we don't know what they're going to do in Austin. They convene every 2 years and in meeting with, our consultants, and in speaking with, or reading what's actually been proposed. It greatly concerns me about the future of everywhere in Irving, of what is going to be possible. For instance, maybe ADUs by right, maybe 1,500 square foot would be the maximum we could do, is one proposal. I think those would be extremely, extremely destructive. And so typically when I vote on projects nowadays, I'm considering what, and this is no comment on you, but on what developers might propose and do. And so those things are on my mind when I look at that, and looking at density. I don't think that would be appropriate for this area either. So, but maybe we can bring that back to your committee as well, Al, is seeing if we have a taste to extend our notice area. I would very much like to do that, because everybody has come down. You can see a lot more signatures. There's obviously a lot of interest. I think it will be the most expensive residential project in the history of Irving, and whether it, if it passes or not, what's being proposed. And again, to confirm, we would not be voting on indoor entertainment. I don't really favor those uses. I mean, I would have to, I haven't been convinced yet on any case. And then, the restaurant, we would have to look at whether we would want to do alcohol for that or not. But certainly, any restaurant would have to comply with the noise ordinance, any balcony. So, thank you, everybody, for coming tonight and voicing your opinion. It's all very important to us. This is, to me, a bit of a harder case, because I could see both sides of the argument, and I think a lot of people have expressed that, so I really appreciate it.
Okay, Kyle Taylor.
No, I just wanted to piggyback on what Brad said. One of the things we challenge with multifamily is it goes to the property owner, doesn't go to the residents. The property owner could be North Carolina or China. So that's another thing we need to look at as we move forward. Some of these things that are coming in it's around multifamily is where exactly our notice is going.
Okay, do we have any more questions of Mr. Lake? Okay, we'll close it to the floor and return it to the council for a discussion or motion. We have a motion. Do we have a second?
You made a motion? I second.
We have a motion and a second. Would you please vote? And it passes unanimously. That brings us to our next case, which is the item number 34, which is 2024-198 ZC, considering zoning change from R6, single-family residential 6 to SP2 R6, generalized site plan, single-family residential 6, with variances to the minimum front yard setback for a carport. Is the applicant with us this evening?
Hello, my name is Ron Holbrook. I now live at 3709 Canary Drive, Irving, Texas, and after all that, I just want a carport for my house. But I inherited a vehicle from my late father, and of course, my household has grown, and we're just simply trying to protect, our investment, our cars, from the elements, from weather and all that. And it just helps me out a lot to get that, because right now, it financially cannot afford to move into a home that does have that kind of space and opportunity, and I'd rather just keep what I have and to expand from there. Thank you.
Okay. Did we have anyone signed up, Shanae? No, sir. Are there any questions of the applicant? Hearing none, I would entertain a motion or discussion. We have a motion to approve. Would you please vote? And it passes 6-2. The next item on our agenda is 2024-216 CP, considering a comprehensive plan amendment changing the future land use from business office to mid-density residential at 519 Jeffrey Drive. Shanae, do we have the applicant with us?
Yes, we do. We have speakers. Are you the applicant?
I am. Yes.
All right, go ahead.
Hi. It's been a long evening. My name is Corinne Gonzalez, 2340 Kings Country Drive in Irving. Good evening, council and city members. Growing up, my single mother rented her extra rooms in her house to lodgers. And as I got older, I helped her with that. And when I went to university, I bought my own house and I rented the rooms in that house to lodgers as well to make ends meet. That was 18 years ago. I moved to America in 2008 when I met my husband. And we bought houses, foreclosed houses during the recession, and put back the plumbing and the wires that had been stolen from the copper thieves, and housed Section 8 and low-income families. Currently, I have Section 8 long-term tenants. I've worked with Dallas Housing Authority, Dallas County Housing, Fort Worth Housing, Tarrant County Housing, many Section 8 housing authorities. I'm an Airbnb host, and I have some co-living houses as well. Currently, there are 80 people living under our roofs. I've been living in Irving for the past 6 years with my husband and 3 children. So this house is 4-bedroom, 2-bathroom on 3/4 of an acre of land. The housing density is 1.3 acres per acre, 1.3 units per acre. And the lot line is 330 feet by about 100 feet. So my goal is to rent rooms in the house to single unrelated people, furnished bedrooms. So if the city aligned with the Texas Property Code, I would not be here today. This rezoning request would not be necessary because my proposed usage would be allowed under R6 zoning. Texas Property Code allows an occupancy limit of 3 people per bedroom. And the Irving Development Code is a little more restrictive. A family must occupy a single family detached dwelling, and a family is defined as no more than 3 unrelated people living together on a non-profit cost-sharing basis, regardless of whether it's a 1-bedroom apartment or a 4-bedroom mansion. So in a 4-bedroom mansion, you could have a multi-generational family living together. The occupancy limit in Irving is 2 people per bedroom plus 1. So for a 4-bedroom house, that could be a family of 9 people. But for unrelated people, their housing costs are disproportionately higher because they're prevented from pooling their resources and living in a communal way. The demographic of my target demographic would be the 29% of Irving residents that are single household individuals. That's 73,768 residents. The people who will really rely on my product will be the low income. Those would be the minimum wage workers or the guys working night shift, gig workers, day laborers. Of course, you know the minimum wage is $7.25. At 40 hours a week, that would be $12.50 a month. Other low-income residents that I would be helping with my business model would be those on fixed income, retirees. 4 million Americans a year retire this year, and for the next 3 years, the same amount. This is the biggest boom in American history for retirees, and retirement is a condition for receiving Medicare. Now, most people think about boomers as being quite wealthy, but that's really the boomers that were born in the first half between 1946 and 1954. Post-war was quite an affluent time, and there were easy jobs, and it was easy to get on the property ladder. Those born a little later in 1955 and between 1955 and 1964 had 2 back-to-back recessions and interest rates of 14%. So those guys found it harder to get on the property ladder and build assets and do as well in life as, you know, the earlier boomers. 40% of seniors in Irving live alone. They're a single household, and if they're struggling on a fixed income, that doesn't, you know, it's hard for them to stay in the city that they grew up in and find somewhere affordable within their budget. They want to stay independent. They don't want to be a burden on other family members. They don't want to couch surf. They don't want to be a burden on the city. Many of them don't have medical needs, and they can live independently. Others on a fixed income are those on disability or SSI. 26% of those on disability live on the poverty line, and veterans are also included under that demographic because 40% of veterans are disabled from service. Many people going through a life change, such as divorce, and divorce rates have tripled in the senior population, or those with temporary job loss need somewhere affordable to tide them through. And widowers, you'd be surprised to know that the average age of a widower is only 59 years old, and many of these, the majority of widows are female. So when I talk about poverty line, just to clarify, poverty is surviving on $15,000 a year. That's $12.50 a month. Now, 50-40-10 rule is you shouldn't spend more than 50% of your income on your basic needs, 40% on your wants, and 10% to your savings. Most people don't get to save, but on the poverty line, that means you have $625 for your basic needs. And I want you to remember that number, please, $625 for your basic needs. That covers housing, transportation, and food. I spoke to one lady, and she said that her SNAP income is $14 a month. And I said to her, how do you live on that? And she said, I don't even know. She said, I don't even have $400 a month for my housing, so I sleep on my friend's couch, and if it wasn't for her, I'd be homeless. But that's what she said to me at the West Aquatic Center. Anyway, there are others that will be using my product, and it's not because they need it as desperately as the low-income individuals. They're not so price sensitive, but they will need it for the flexibility of lease. For example, migrant workers coming in for temporary, like 1 to 6 month contracts. I've housed migrant workers before. They've come to install water meters, or some Germans came to install a 3D printer. Many people are coming into the city, transplants, and they come, and they've just got a job, and they come and they need to find an apartment, or they come before they found a job, and so they need to find somewhere really affordable while they're job hunting. Migrant worker, digital nomads, you know, they all over the place, remote workers. Now, another demographic that this will be really valuable for, the young adults. For example, recent graduates, interns, young professionals, and foster kids aging out from the system. It's really important for them to have a place to transition into independence, and students as well. They have to balance their part-time work. And don't think about students as party students. You know, there's many of those graduate students that they really take their studies seriously, and they have their part-time jobs, and they need to cut costs so they don't have high student debt. And the last one, airline staff. I know it's kind of an odd one, but our proximity to Dallas-Fort Worth Airport means that there are pilots and air hostesses that don't live in DFW, but they do regularly have to sleep here because they get stranded between their flight back home. They do have to spend nights here, so on a regular basis, they need to have a second bed close to the airport. So on the 3/4 acre of land, there's enough space at the back of the property for 32 cars. This will not impact the neighborhood or the street because there is rear parking. My proposition is a 2-story addition to the rear of the existing 1950s house. It will be a highly insulated addition with a living roof, rainwater system for toilet flushing, passive solar design with south-facing orientation and deep overhangs, and obviously the windows have to be insulated. I'm planning a geothermal heat pump system, so the water pipes will run under the parking lot. It's going to be a much more efficient way to cool the building than normal retrofit AC options. Exposed AC ducts so that there is not inefficient loss of the cooled air. 12-foot high ceilings, polished concrete floors, and this will comply with the IBC code, so it will require an NFPA 13R fire sprinkler system. Historically, communal living has been a crucial part of urban development. Boarding houses, rooming houses, and SROs were an essential option for city workers to find housing on a budget. It was an integral part of the city landscape, and they were vibrant, diverse communities where people shared meals, stories, and support. My solution addresses a deficit. There's a gap in the housing market, and I'm planning to revive a founding tradition so that there are options for affordable, accessible housing for single household individuals specifically. I will ensure that this is a positive addition to the neighborhood with strict screening, nationwide background checks, and no criminal histories or probation will be allowed. No substance abuse will be tolerated, no antisocial behavior, quiet hours between 10 and 10, and neighborhood respect will be very important and stressed. There's no unit of housing more fundamental than a bed. So furnished bedrooms will be provided with a twin or a full-size bed, memory foam mattress encasements, and fitted mattress protectors, clothes storage options such as armoires or dressers, desk and chair and mirror. And I kind of go on the British format here on the requirements for furnishing a bedroom and the kitchen ratios. Exclusive use of a kitchen and a bathroom is a luxury. It's not a necessity. The kitchens will have various cook stations with induction cooktops, granite countertops, assorted fridges, sinks, microwave, dishwashers, and assigned food storage options for the residents. And there will be common areas such as the dining room, recreation areas, outdoor spaces, and workstations for remote work. Residents can apply online for $20, and the rent will start from $400 a month for private or shared bedrooms. There will be an online tenant portal. Tenants can schedule their payments to be weekly, bi-weekly, or monthly. Sometimes it depends on how their paychecks come in, so it's very important for them to be able to schedule that. And they can pay by credit card, debit card, electronic check, or ACH payment. Bills and high-speed Wi-Fi are included, as well as cleaning, keyless entry with unique door codes for each resident, and security cameras in the communal areas. Now, I know when I said shared bedrooms, you guys were like mind blown, because probably that's kind of an unusual concept, but I want you to remember that magic number, $625 a month for your housing, for your food, for your transportation. And when you think about that logically, the only practical solution is to have a shared bedroom. People are sleeping in their cars and they're working in the day. They need to have a bed, and they need to have a place to store their clothes, and they need somewhere to shower, and they need somewhere for their food. And this is a practical solution. I know it just because it's different doesn't mean it's bad, right? So to conclude, the main cause of homelessness is lack of affordable housing, and we have a gap in affordable housing for single household individuals. They don't have a support system or a family to buddy up and to split bills with. My solution is practical, sustainable, and it's private money. I'm spending my money to help these people. Just imagine living on that $625 a month for your basic needs when you make your decision, please. So I urge you to support my rezoning request and the amendment to the comprehensive use plan. This will make a real difference to the lives of individuals in the city. I forgot to tell you about the transportation. So it's a really good area for transportation-wise. It's in the Irving Go Zone for on-demand car rides. So a car will come pick up residents from the doorstep for the price of a bus ticket, which is $1.50, and take them anywhere within this Go Zone, including to the train station. And the train station runs between Dallas and Fort Worth, and it's also walking distance. It's only 18 minutes walk to the train station, the other bus stops, the supermarket, the park. Now, there were 3 relevant comments from the neighbors. One of the comments from the neighbors was about trees growing, so he wants me to go on his land and cut his trees. But the other relevant comments were about a concern for the number of people living at the property. The current comprehensive future use plan is for business office, and these are a couple of the uses that would be allowed under the compatible zoning. I really feel that the other uses would cause a lot more traffic and disturbance than my residential use proposed. And for any urban development, there is going to be the consequence of people and traffic. Loneliness and a lack of social connection is an epidemic in America, and it disproportionately affects a large number of the demographic that I will be helping. Getting these people together, they will naturally form friendships and a support system much more genuine than city programs can offer. Having a form of housing catering exclusively for single household adults will reduce competition for housing with other starting families that really need it. Those couples and their young children, they really need to have their own apartment. And reducing competition for this will be great. It's a very efficient use of space, shared communal areas, and it's a low-cost option for my residents. There will be economic benefit to the city with their patronage of the grocery stores and the local areas, and my development will increase the property tax value. There will also be environmental benefit because it will be a lot more efficient having multiple people under one insulated envelope. Now, I know that there's also a popular trend towards the tiny houses and cottage houses, but if you think about it, that has a lot more surface area with multiple small units, rather than having it in one large, well-insulated unit and one very efficient heat pump system. This is in line with the city priorities to expand the types of housing available and also infill development. Obviously, the 3/4-acre backyard is not fulfilling any function currently. So to conclude, main causes of homelessness is lack of affordable housing, and I would really appreciate your guys' response, and also anyone in the audience, even if you didn't come here today to speak on my project, if you have any personal experience with the issues that I have mentioned about the necessity of having affordable, accessible housing, room rentals, I would appreciate your support as well. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. We've got several speakers. Shanae, you.
The first speaker is Dennis Bremer, followed by Gregory McCarthy.
My name's Dennis Bremer. I live at 915 Ash Street. I live in a community living house. I don't think, I know I can't, I make $15 an hour. I couldn't afford to pay the rent on an apartment. So I live in one of those places. It wouldn't be for that, there's a possibility I might be homeless. I was living in North Dallas, and I'm commuting to Irving because I got a job at the airport driving cars for Avis, and it was like a 5-hour commute every day because I had to take 3 buses and 1 train. So I moved here to Irving. That's pretty much all I got. But if it wouldn't be for the place, I believe I'd be homeless. Thank you.
Thank you. Gregory McCarthy, followed by Liz Mahoney.
Good evening, Mayor Stouffer, Councilman, Manager Chris Hillman, city staff, and ladies and gentlemen. My name is Gregory McCarthy, and I live at 1709 Briarwood Lane, Irving, Texas 75061, and I am in City District 1. And listening to the various presentations this evening, I have a collage of thoughts that I'll try to weave together. But you know, it would have been really nice to have had a 7th inning stretch, because it gets pretty darn sore just sitting there for a while. Do you remember the history books of Irving over 100 years ago when Schultz and Brown came here to start this city? And there was a train depot. And these 2 men decided that they were going to sell lots, and they were going to build this city. And was there anything here? No. There was a train and a depot, and they had this lot that they were going to sell. These men had a vision, and the people bought into it. Now, I think it ironic that Corinne is talking to you about a program that's helping really the working poor. And for I don't know how long was it, an hour, that we talked about the Carlton Ritz of Las Colinas and the executive housing. And that's really lovely. If you can afford it, that's nice. But we heard James say that he worked at Avis at the airport. Now, at this hotel that they're going to build, who's going to do all those jobs? Who's going to do the cleanup? Where are these people going to stay? They'll like to stay near where they work because they don't want to spend 3 hours going back and forth. Now, in this city, as many of you probably know, there are a number of people that come together from the city government, from Irving ISD, from churches, from different organizations and private people to help the poor. But I can't understand why there aren't business people doing that.
1 minute left.
because we need more done for the working poor. Now, how did I get into this? Because I went to a P&Z meeting here a month or so ago, and Corrine got up and talked. And I thought that's a tremendous idea, business in there. Because this is what we need to do. So we got the Carlton Ritz of Las Colinas, and now we have the working poor in South Irving. So Schultz and Brown had a vision. And I think the P&Z board just said, well, we don't quite know about this business getting here and making these changes for these people. By golly, we got to do something. We've got to house everybody, and as Corrine said, a bed is what is important. Thank you.
Sorry, Liz Mahoney, followed by John Mahoney.
I hope you guys can hear me. I'm a little short. I'm sorry for the next person who's going to have to lift it up. My name's Liz Mahoney. I live at 1625 Betsy Lane. My grandparents moved to Irving in 1954. We've been here a really, really long time. Corin's my friend, and I also, as a business person, I've really admired her business in the years that I've known her. I think that having more opportunities for low-income housing is very important. I know I was just laughing here listening to the people north of 183 telling me how great and how quiet it is. I live south of 183, and I love my neighborhood. I love the neighborhood my grandparents had, which was Mosswood Lane. I live in the hospital district right across from Baylor. I was a nurse there. That's why I decided to buy my house where I bought my house. And Corin's really got an idea that's the right project, the right price, the right time for the right people who are in support of our community. So I just came up to say, you know, as a mom, as a resident, as somebody who pays my taxes here, I think that her idea is forward-thinking. I think that it is wise. I think that it won't impact the community as much as having a morgue or a mechanic shop would. And I hope that everybody here is in support of it. Thank you.
John Mahoney, followed by Elizabeth Gregory.
Yeah. Hi. It's good to see you, Mayor, and City Manager Hiltman. I've known some of you guys for a long time. Like Elizabeth said, my family moved here a long time ago. My dad was a petroleum engineer with Core Lab. He started a Texaco office here back in 1957, and except for about 10 years where we lived in Kansas, my folks lived here the whole time. Of course, I went in the Army, and I was able to spend some time in a big sandbox for the Persian Gulf War. I had 4 years regular Army and then another 16 years what they called involuntary ready reserve, which was an involuntary program that if you did too high on your ASVAB, which is the Armed Service Vocational Aptitude Battery, they kept you around for a while. Anyway, I'm here to speak in favor of this housing project too. I think it's a great idea. I know I rented a room when I was a kid, when I was like 16 and left home for a little while. And I think that it's a great opportunity to get a leg up on life. I love Irving. I've been here a long time, except for, you know, some sojourning that I did in the big sandbox. I lived in California for a year, but there's no place that I've ever been that I felt that I was at home except here. And I commend you guys for watching over our city and making sure that it keeps being a great community and a safe place to live. And my hat's off to you. So that's about what I had to say.
Elizabeth Gregory, last speaker.
I'm kind of like you. I don't know if I can walk. It's been a long night. My name is Elizabeth Gregory, and I live at 526 Joffrey Drive. I thank you all for having me speak tonight. I don't have a lot to say, except that I am representing the other residents on my street, that is just one block, it's between Elwood and Pioneer. And to have 32-car parking behind a person's house that nobody lives in for very long, that comes out on our street and has to go one way or the other, we don't believe that people living individually for a minimum of 30 days at a time, and like I said, I live across the street, so I've seen 4 to 6 people in and out every day, and that's not a big deal. They don't cause a lot of problems, but their garbage is out every day, and they don't put it out on Monday nights and let's see, what is it, Tuesday and Thursday, yeah. Anyway, it's Sunday nights and Wednesday nights. It's out every day, and so animals get into it, and the landscaping, the yards are very, very poorly. They only mow enough to not get a letter from the city. It's not like a single family living there, and no one lives there permanently. So I just want you to know that we oppose this zoning change, and I wish her all the luck in the world, but at another location maybe. Thank you.
That's it.
Okay, that was our last speaker. Council, any questions? Kyle Taylor.
Can I get the applicant to come back to the
Sure.
podium, please? You talked an awful lot about an awful lot of people or having the opportunity to live there. What is your target demographics and audience for what you're talking about living in your residence?
Specifically, my target demographic is single household individuals, adults. Now, it will be a 30-day minimum lease, but ideally, I want to make a community that people will live in for many years, make their homes there. I'm not after transients. Was that your question?
Yeah, I'm just sitting from. I'm just a little confused as kind of what your goal. You talked about affordable housing. You talked about people using DART Pass. You went through a lot of different things about who's going to be living or who you would be providing residency for. And so I'm just trying to. I appreciate and understand the concept. I'm just, as somebody who's worked with low-income families for a long time, I'm just trying to wrap my head around, you talked some about, helping low-income families, helping folks that are $625. You kind of were all over the map. I'm trying to get my grasp around if you're just trying to provide housing, that's one thing. If you're trying to provide housing for low-income folks, or gentlemen like the gentleman in the hat who works at Avis, who only makes $15 an hour, can't afford a $14.40 fair market rate in the city of Irving. I'm trying to wrap my arms around what you're looking to do, because if it's low-income folks, just providing them a bed, then are you going to provide wraparound services? Is there things that you're going to do to provide them to help them become more self-sufficient and self-sustainable? I just feel like I'm a little confused as to what you're trying to get done. Okay. And I don't know if that just means you and I need to spend more time together, but it just seems to be, to me, it sounds to me, one hand, you're trying to do something we've not had in the city, and that is provide some form of housing for low-income, working poor, but housing is one thing, but the wraparound services to get them self-sufficiently is one thing. And then I've got to have airline pilots to stay here if they need a room. I'm confused because I interpret what you're trying to do many different ways. Does that make sense?
Okay, well, first of all, let's start. I'm not housing families in this project. No families, just single individuals. That's it. So to answer your question, I still own the house that I bought in England, and it's a HMO. It has a license for 8 people, 8 people. One guy's lived there for 10 years now. He's about 70, and he has his room and he rents there, and that's his home. And my demographic, my bread and butter people who are going to be long-term residents, are the low-income, minimum wage, fixed income retirees. That's the demographic. Single, older guys who are divorcees, older women who are widows. Now, there will be a couple of types of people that will come for just a few months at a time, or will just be there for a long term, but sporadically. Because of our closeness to the airport, there are pilots and air hostesses, and they need a second base. They need a second home in Dallas, and they don't want to pay a lot because they already have a mortgage somewhere else. So this is kind of like under the radar. Not many people know about this form of housing, because often they're called crash pads. And normally when the cities find the crash pads, they shut them down, and the airline hostesses and pilots have to find a new place for their second bed. So, this will be a demographic that will shoehorn in to what I have. That's just, something to tell you about, because you might not know about this demographic being close to the airport. But to reiterate, I am specifically catering towards the single household individual. They don't have a partner. They're by themselves in the world, and they don't want to impose on their children and their family and getting in on their housing situation. They want to have their own space. Does that answer your question?
Sort of.
Okay.
What you stated in what you're going to charge, or what you're looking to charge as a room rate or a night rate?
No, it's not a night rate. This is not a hotel. This is not a hostel. This is minimum 30 days, preferably long-term stay for years. And it would be $400 to $800 a month, something like that, depending on whether it's a shared or a private room.
Okay.
So to get down to the budget, that number, $625, and you want to get below it so that you can eat, right? Because you want to eat, and
trust me, I know how it works.
Okay, so to get down to that 400, you have to share a bedroom. And
Yeah, but
people bond and they become...
that's why I'm asking what I'm asking.
Okay,
You're going to offer a bedroom place for somebody, and they're going to have to get down to $400 a month
right,
as a place to stay.
yes.
Okay.
And they will have
You've
their
already,
bed.
You've made the point, and you've said that these folks are struggling, can't afford to pay. That's why I came back and I said, are you going to provide wraparound services? It's just a bed. It's just a place for them to sleep for either extended period of time, long period of time, couple of nights. I'm just trying to wrap my arms around what you're trying to do.
So they will have their furniture, they have their place to put their clothes, they have their place to sleep, they become friends with the other residents, they have the shared kitchen to cook meals together, they have all the pots and pans provided in the kitchen that they need to cook, they have a space in the fridge. This is home for them. This is not like a transitional supportive housing that I'm proposing with like psychological services or drug rehab services, because I'm not catering towards that section of the population. I'm catering towards the independent seniors or the employees, and they're functioning members of society, but they're just working within a different budget than your executive housing, for example. Everyone deserves to be able to pay their money and to have something within their budget. And you can find that for food. If you have a very low food budget, you can go out into the world and you can find any food you want, or if you want to spend $100 on your meal, you can go get your Wagyu steak, right? So for housing, you should also have housing options that go for the lowest budgets all the way up to the highest budgets. And if you're talking about like hostels and shared bunks and that, they only allow up to 30 days, and that's not a permanent solution. So I'm offering something that's new and that's different and that's permanent and sustainable, and it's my money. It's not taxpayer money or city money.
Okay, I still don't, I'm still having a hard time understanding your business model, business plan, and what you're trying to do.
Ask again, ask me again.
No, I'm not gonna do that because you've explained it 3 or 4 times and still, I just can't get I don't understand it, I can't grasp it, it just kind of doesn't make sense to me, so.
Let me try again.
We got 2 other people and time here. Brad is next.
Okay, I can explain it.
Well, no, just a minute.
He wanted to
No.
explain it again. I said I was done. Oh, okay, I'm sorry, I thought you wanted to explain. Okay.
No.
Okay.
Brad, do you have a question of the applicant?
Well, one kind of comment and then a question. So I don't know if you're going to get it or not, but my comment on geothermal is, because I've had one of those, make sure it's buried deep enough, because in Valley Ranch, they built whole neighborhoods with that, buried them too shallow, and then they didn't work, and they're super expensive to fix. They work great if they're done right, so just...
Yeah, and also I understand that oxygen barrier tubing is very important, and that's not always something that the installers take
No,
into...
they skipped that on us too, so...
Yeah.
But anyway, that's just a comment. The main reason the city is opposed to a comprehensive plan amendment, there's a couple criteria. The area is physically appropriate for the proposed residential use. The area is adequate access and parking capacity. I think you meet all those. The third category is the rezoning does not create any foreseeable negative impacts on the adjacent uses. And so the explanation there is that the negative impacts will affect the surrounding neighborhoods because they have large single-family residential lots, and the proposed change to multifamily is inconsistent with that use. So, and I know you've explained a lot tonight. It is an interesting business plan. I think you've kind of well thought it out. But how do you respond to that criticism?
I think I'm just going to repeat what I said, that the current comprehensive future use the uses called for currently will be more impactful on the neighborhood than the residential use that I'm proposing. And aside from the ordinance and the red tape, it's really not a change in the current usage. If you go by the Texas Property Code, it would still be allowed under the R6 zoning.
Yeah, I think the city agrees the area is physically appropriate for residential use. I think it's the surrounding lots. So, well, thank you.
The surrounding lots are those businesses on the side.
Well, on the south side, on the north,
Yeah.
as you head up Joffrey up to Elwood, those are large lots.
Well, directly on the south of the lot is automotive repair stores and
all
automotive
along the
parts
south
warehouse.
is
The whole,
businesses.
yeah, and some of the opposing, 2 of the opposing were from those businesses. And, well, one of them was, he came storming across the lawn one day, and he was like, "You need to stop your trees from growing. They're growing over the top of my roofs, and you need to come and trim those trees." And I was like, well, in the Texas law on trees is you're responsible for the branches that grow on your land. And he wasn't very happy with what I had to say, and he opposed this rezoning proposal. And the other guy, he didn't have a comment, but he's the auto parts warehouse. Also on the south side, there's a bunch of commercial on the south side. And also at the rear of the lot is also commercial use. So it's 2 sides is commercial.
Yeah, I mean, along the south, certainly commercial, but as you head north, I think that's what the city's referring to.
Yes, north is residential, is correct.
Al, did you have a question of the applicant or just?
Yeah, I'd just like to make a comment. Thank you for doing all the work and I think you obviously put a lot of thought into it, and I commend you for your optimism of what you're trying to do. I don't think it's the right location, because I'm very familiar with that area. And I guess the question that I have for you, have you had a chance to talk to any of our staff that might be able to help you find a good location? Because what you're proposing, it reminds me of the, I guess at the turn of the century, kind of the mid-industrial area where you had rooming boards type of, I'm not sure what I want to call them, they weren't hotels, but so what you're doing and what you're thinking about, I think has merit. I just got to tell you, I don't think, and I can't support it tonight, but I would like you to try to talk to our people, maybe because you've done a lot of, obviously a lot of research. You must have a lot of experience from your time in Europe. And so at this point, thank you for coming.
Okay, at that time, we have no more questions of the applicant. We'll close it to the floor and bring it back to the council. John, do you have?
I don't have questions. I did have a comment. We have two cases relating to this property in front of us, and this one, in my opinion, is the easy case. Whenever I have a comprehensive plan case in front of me, I ask myself two questions, and I have to answer yes to both. Do I think this property shouldn't be what it is now? Yes, I actually think it shouldn't be business. Do I think it should be what it's proposed? In this case, I don't. So if there's no further discussion, I would like to make a motion for denial.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Would you please vote?
Yeah.
We've lost our screen here. It fails 6-2. You made a motion for denial, and it was 6-2.
What was your motion? Deny. You voted no. I can reflect it on the record.
Do we need to do
Can make a motion to revote it.
Yeah.
I'll move to reconsider.
Okay, we'll clear it off.
So let's take the motion, just motion to reconsider. We need a second, we need a vote, and then we'll reconsider.
Right.
I second the motion to reconsider.
Okay.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to reconsider. Do we need to clear the thing so we can vote again? We can do it by hand. Okay, now this is a vote to reconsider. And that passes unanimously. So now we'll entertain a motion for a vote.
Motion for denial.
We have a motion for denial.
Seconded.
And we have a second for denial. So would you please vote? And it fails.
It passes.
It passes for denial. So that takes us to the next item, which is,
Mayor, this item is moot.
that's what I was going to say, it's moot, isn't it?
Yes, sir. No motion's necessary.
So that takes us then to item number 37, which is ordinance 2024-201 ZC, considering a zoning change from R75, single-family residential 7.5 to SP2 R75, generalized site plan, single-family residential 7.5 with the variance to the minimum side yard setbacks on a corner lot at 1618 Briarwood Lane. Is the applicant with us? Thank you very much for your patience.
This is a single-story home.
Can you
With-
please state your
Yes,
name?
I'm
and
sorry. My
address?
name is Krista Lively. I'm at 913 North Ector in Euless, Texas. I am the applicant. I'm here with David and Barbara Berryman. They're the owners. And their home, they've lived there for 40 years. It's always had a two-car garage. I went to do construction on the home, and when I applied for a permit, realized that that two-car garage was not supposed to be there. We needed to do some construction on it, which I had to tear half of the garage off, and we were denied, and that's why we're here. We're just asking that I'm allowed to tear half of their two-car garage down, reconstruct it, put a pitch roof on it, and extend it 4 foot to the side. I don't know if you studied over the notes at your work
Sure.
session. I know it's been a long night, but do
No.
you have any questions for me? Or I know the P&Z department recommended it.
Brad?
No questions. I was just going to move for approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Would you please vote? And it passes unanimously, so you can go ahead and do your garage. And thank you for your patience. And that brings us to the end of our agenda. All those in favor?